Nosferatu has crossed overseas in his coffin and snuck right into theaters to steal your girl. But is the movie as great as everyone has been saying? Well, stick around and we will discuss. Hello, and welcome back to the channel for this review of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, one of my most anticipated films of 2024. If you're watching this on the day of it being posted, it currently is 2025, so Happy New Year. But I saw Nosferatu the day after Christmas in IMAX, very festive, and I had a grand old time. This movie is visually stunning, it's packed with great performances, and its unambiguously positive reception, frankly, is heartening to me and proof that us weirdo freaks can get a few movies to pop off in the mainstream every now and then, which is always a good, fun thing. I'm a big fan of Robert Eggers' other work, particularly The Lighthouse and the, in my opinion, extremely underrated movie, The Northman. So this was a movie, Nosferatu, that I was looking forward to with great expectations. I was trying not to get too overhyped, but it was kind of hard to do so. I'm also very familiar with Nosferatu lore, given that I am a decently sized horror movie nerd, so I knew a decent amount about the Dracula myth and its various spin offs and reimaginings and offshoots throughout the years. And of course, I've seen Nosferatu in SpongeBob, one of the great cameos of all time. I've seen the original Nosferatu silent film and also Werner Herzog's adaptation from 1979. So, my big question mark coming into this 2024 iteration was just how much Eggers was going to deviate from the OG tale, if at all, right? As far as remixing and changing plot points or beats from the original Nosferatu story, Eggers' version is a pretty straightforward adaptation. When it became clear during my viewing that the actual events of the film were going to be eerily similar to those of the original silent version, I settled into things and prepared myself to engage with the rest of the movie on those terms and those terms alone, which I think it was the right decision. That being said, if you are expecting a very different version of the Nosferatu story and excited about a, I don't know, for example, like a Wicked style change in POV as far as mixing things up, you will be sorely disappointed. I feel as though that's worth knowing ahead of time if you're a dedicated vampire guy or vampire girly with specific desires here. This is not a take where everything is turning on a swivel to change your perception of the original tale in any huge, meaningful way. The reason to see the movie, though, is that Eggers does get to, well, apart from have his own great personal style transposed onto this kind of iconic story, he also gets to, by virtue of being a filmmaker in 2024 instead of the 1920s, ramp up the psychosexual elements of a vampire story that was always kind of stewing in that kind of uncomfortable eroticism. Um, the kind of sex scenes in the movie, for lack of a better term, are a big point of contention, very big cultural conversation, at least on online film circles. And the sexual themes and motifs within the story are not muted in any way here. And I think that my personal opinion is that committing to that decision is beneficial to the overall film and works to the benefit of the story and conveying its message in a, impactful way. The performances of the cast assembled here also helped the proceedings with great oomph, great verve. Lily Rose Depp, who I was totally unfamiliar with before this film, I knew that she was in The Idol, which I did not watch because I heard was very bad. Maybe someday I will check it out, but probably not. I assumed that she was a Nepo baby who was getting work because of her famous father, and she turned in a standout performance of the year in Nosferatu. She kind of left me floored by the end of the runtime. I assumed wrongly the whole Nepo baby narrative with her that she had no talent. I simply hadn't seen her in anything, so I don't know why I had that kind of thought in my head. Perhaps it's because I had heard so many bad things about The Idol that I was conflating the quality of the show as it was being told to me with the quality of her performance, which maybe is not totally fair. I'll acknowledge that. And she emphatically bats away any like talentless Nepo baby accusations with her performance in Nosferatu. It is both emotionally and physically taxing and without any ego or self consciousness. Um, there are sequences in this movie where Depp has to go from possessed to bawling her eyes out to writhing around in horniness, all within the same sequence. And it feels like she takes the ball and just runs with it, totally blowing me away in the process. And it seems like other members of the audience. If horror movies got their due more often during award season, I would be seriously looking at Depp in this film as one of the great leading actress performances of the year. I don't know who my winner would be necessarily, but she would certainly be in the conversation if I had it my way. Nicholas Hoult, Willem Dafoe, and Emma Corrin round out the cast in pleasant fashion, each of them kind of solidly offering very engaging performances. None of those were surprises. I like all of those people, but they were all quite welcome for this moviegoer. Ralph Ineson is present in a very substantive way, which I appreciated. He's an actor that I've always wished was in more of the movie whenever I do see him in a movie. Uh, he's just someone who I always feel is like underutilized to a degree. I'm like, that guy is so magnetic. I want to see more of him. I can't get enough of him. He's in this movie quite a bit, which was nice to see. Aaron Taylor Johnson hams it up a little bit, but it's in a way that I think is a great sort of straight man performance in contrast to the people in the town around him who start to slowly believe more and more in strange supernatural happenings. It was so great to be reminded after Craven the Hunter that Taylor Johnson is indeed charming and funny and very capable of moving between those tones and without spoiling too much between funny tones and heartbreak and everything in between. You know, it was nice post Craven to be reminded that yes, oh, he can still act. This Craven script was not really giving him anything to work with. So he, like many other actors in that movie, came away looking worse than they actually are. It was nice to see him kind of feel like he's breathing life into a role after poor Craven the Hunter, which I am going to try very hard not to let get under my skin because I could rant about that movie for even longer than I have already. Um, we also, of course, have Bill Skarsgård as the titular Nosferatu, Count Orlok, as he's referred to as well. He is just a horror darling for the modern age, isn't he? I mean, I thought this might be a situation where he would finally tip over into slight overexposure within the genre, but as it turns out, he has the sauce still, and he has plenty of sauce left, I should say, in the tank. You know, between Barbarian and It and this movie, he has a deserved place in the modern horror culture. It really is kind of undeniable. He's so good in this movie. He's unrecognizable from any of his other performances. It's very distinct. His voice work, to my understanding, was not modified very much throughout the course of the film, and his vocal stylings combined with his physicality, even under the heavy makeup that they have him on, that they have him under, it made me wonder whether or not he too should be a performer who gets nods this award season here and there for this specific performance. That seems even less likely than Depp being honored in any way for a film like this, but one can dream, can he not? And this is, you know, it is focus features. It's a universal picture technically, so they will have some money for some sort of campaign should they so choose. But we'll see if that happens when it comes time. My money's on no. But I loved this movie. I would say that it isn't quite approaching instant classic status for me, just because I am so intimately familiar with the original story. And this is very much a faithful adaptation for the most part. So I was not really left with my mind absolutely blown. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised. My jaw wasn't dropping, but I was very engaged and very into the production design, the performances, the vibe, the aesthetic. It was just such a great time out at the theaters. I saw it very late at night, which also helped. On my rating system of A list, amazing, average, abysmal, and needs to be A boarded, Nosferatu 2024 gets a resounding amazing rating. So you could say that it's, I guess, 4 stars out of 5 if you wanted to convert that numerically, but the numbers things aren't really my favorite ways to rate movies. That's just me. So I came up with that little bespoke rating system. But this movie ripped. I thought it was so good. Um, I saw this as part of an experiment where I'm trying to see as many movies as possible with AMC A list in a given year. This was an IMAX screening, as I said earlier, so I saved a solid $18.49 with A list on this go around. I would say that this film is absolutely worth seeing in a movie theater, especially in a premium format if you've got those offered at a place near you. Um, but what did you think of Nosferatu if you have seen it, or are you planning to see it? Tell me your favorite version of this story or of the Dracula story, be it, Dracula or Nosferatu. They share many similarities. Um, or I'll do you one better. Just tell me your favorite vampire movie, period, or some of your favorites. It's such a wide genre with many, little pockets that I think is really special. Um, this isn't my favorite of all time, but I especially loved The Last Voyage of the Demeter to pull something from recent memory. I also very recently binge watched the entire Twilight series. I had not seen all of those before. Those are very fun in their own kind of special, unique way. So, lots to choose from in the vampire genre, lots to choose from. Um, Feel free to like or subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with other things in theaters and my thoughts on them. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Have a happy and safe start to your 2025. I appreciate your time. Thanks. Have a good one.